Good morning, guys. It's Chris, the Ultimate Recycler, back in the shop storage room for episode, I think we're up to episode 27 of the Great Shop Cleanup. Working on this shelf next to me, we got some electrical stuff off the top the other day, and in that last episode I mentioned that perhaps we won't continue with these boxes because I think they're all vintage electrical stuff and I don't want to bore you guys. So we're going to start down the bottom where there's a pile of workshop manuals. Now I appreciate they're not everyone's cup of tea either. It's probably going to have a limited interest. So I'll show you how I'm going to sort them, value them, how I'm going to dispose of them in this lot. And I have cupboards full of workshop manuals. And unless you guys scream that you want to see them all, I'll probably do some of those off camera. You'll see a lot of space open up quickly and I'll be doing a lot of work, but you guys won't have to sit through endless videos of workshop manuals, which I find really interesting, and some of you probably do, but I'm sure a lot of you don't. See how we go with this lot. You might find a secret interest you didn't even know you had. So just panning down this shelf, and the grey cupboard, or sort of khaki army coloured cupboard behind, I think is actually full of workshop manuals. I bought the contents of an old garage once. So a lot of these boxes are electrical, but there are some mystery boxes. I don't know what's in some of them. So there's a stack of manuals down here. When I say car manuals, they're like, most of them are like proper original manufacturers, workshop manuals, service manuals. A lot of those are Nissan and Datsun. The garage I cleaned out was a Nissan dealer. Some of them date to the 90s, some to the 80s. There are some earlier ones as well. And there's not very many sort of generic ones like your Gregory's or your, what's the other one? I think there's a few well-known aftermarket car manuals you can buy that don't hold much value. These original ones can actually be worth quite a lot. I don't know what's in those two boxes over there, so perhaps we'll look in those today as well. That could be quite interesting. But I'll get these manuals through to the counter first and we'll sort out how we're going to deal with them. Okay, I think this stack are nearly all Nissan. And I'm going to go through them very quickly and just show you what I've got. I'm going to mostly value them from what I can find on eBay completed items. Usually gives me a pretty good guide for me to price them in the shop. If I can't find anything on eBay, then we're looking at considering eBaying it because it might be a rare model or it might be a particularly hard service manual to get. So this is the D21 Navara. Not sure what year that is. It should say it somewhere. I'm not going to go into any details. That's a parts catalogue. So some of them are service books, some are parts catalogues. This has exploded views and all the parts. So the bigger books are going to be an issue to post, but I'm not going to eBay anything unless I think it's worth, you know, $50 plus. So that way someone's quite prepared to pay a bit of postage as well. Nissan Pulsar N12 series. And that was the service manual supplement. There's the service manual. So these are original Nissan manuals. Here's a Datsun Nissan. And we watched a YouTube video a while back on the history of the Nissan factory and why their Datsun name was so good, and then the company actually went backwards when they changed to Nissan. It's all about brand recognition, and some companies make big mistakes. Service manual for the Datsun 260C. So that would be going back to the 70s, I would think. It's in very good condition. Service manual chassis and body for the 810 series. Body repair guide for the N10 series. Datsun Pulsar. Put your hand up if you've ever driven any of these. Nissan Datsun N10. There's going to be perhaps some double ups, I'm not sure. Nissan Pulsar. N13, N12. Here we have something that's not Nissan. Time guide for mechanical repairs. This would have been issued to a repair workshop. Basically as a guide to what they could charge out, what was a reasonable hourly rate for doing a particular job. So that could be interesting. Nissan Pintara, remember the Pintara? Well, this one could be worth a bit, the Nissan Skyline. So it's going to depend value-wise on how many of these manuals are out there. The Skyline was a bit of a more sporty version of their range, and consequently they were a bit more expensive, and the collectors go for these more as they get older. I'm not sure what year this would be. I'm guessing back in the 80s. 1981 the manual is. So I'll be doing some searching. This one's seen workshop use as demonstrated by the grubby fingerprints on the page edges. Here we have a Datsun 910 series. This is an old parts catalogue for Datsun 180B. Everyone remembers the 180B, 1976 model. So that's just a little thin one. Just a printout of parts. Nissan Patrol, they're four-wheel drive vehicles. Nissan Patrol. It's getting quite heavy rain on the roof. I hope you can still hear me. 160 series. Another one on the Patrol. The Datsun Bluebird. I can remember when the ad campaign came out for the Datsun Bluebird. That would have been in the late 70s, I think. Let's see if there's a date there. That's dated 1981 too, so. All right, so a lot of these are going to be the 1980s. The Nissan Vanette really inspires an image of race car, doesn't it? The Vanette. And there's the van itself. So that's a decent service manual, that one. The S12 series looks a bit sporty. A coupe, not sure on that one. Gazelle. Some of them will overlap to different models, of course. The Nissan Ute. Now, I believe, very Australian, Ute. Of course, all you Americans will call it a pickup truck or something like that. But Ute is short for utility. And I believe that was made by Ford Australia, and they did a deal with Nissan. Just something that sticks in my mind. I may or may not be right there, but it looks like a Ford Ute to me. We have an owner's manual for a Nissan pickup. Nissan Bluebird. Nissan Pintara, that looks like an older book, that one, or at least well used. Another Nissan Skyline. Some loose leaf product bulletins issued to the dealers by the Nissan company. Datsun Pulsar, Nissan Patrol, and some small, these are more product bulletins. Four-wheel drive Datsun 280C. Some product bulletins on the Skyline, so I'd probably group some of these together. They might eBay quite well, at least they'd be cheap to post. The Cherry Pulsar. Nissan Patrol. Now here's some older ones, a service manual for an F20 series. More F20 stuff. This would have to be back into the 70s, I would think. 1975, that one. C340 series. They might have been little trucks. The Nissan Prairie, I don't remember that one. Another one on the Nissan Prairie. So pretty much all Nissan stuff. And as I said, the garage I cleaned out was a big Nissan dealer. I know I've got more of them too. So the next step for me now is to check eBay and see if they sell. Now, 20 years ago when I started out in business, car manuals used to be really hot items. They'd sell very well on eBay. I remember sending some Datsun stuff to, I think I sent a parts manual to Norway once, and it made like $300 and something, and the postage was nearly $100. It was a big, thick parts manual. Nowadays, manuals don't tend to get very much at all. You can download them on PDF. You can probably ask AI how to fix something. The collectors still like the original manuals, but they don't sell anywhere near like they used to, which is a bit disappointing. And I probably should have gone through all these 15 years ago, but you know, I've been busy. What I'm going to do now is quickly run through and check them all on eBay. If I can find an identical one or one very close and have a definite sale price on it, or at least, you know, if someone's asking $30 and it doesn't sell, at least I know it's not going to be worth a lot. I might then put it in the shop for 20 or 10. It's going to take a while for the right people to find it in the shop, but they're better in the shop available for someone than sitting in my storeroom available to no one. So next step for me is to sit down, make a cuppa, and check if there's any rare stuff in here. And I will do a list at the end of what prices I put in any of them. So if you happen to see this video, I'll probably put Nissan manuals in the title, so it might attract some of you guys. If you see something you want, at the end of the video, I'll have a list of what price I'm going to ask for them, and you might be able to pick up something you need. Righto, off to the computer, I'll make a coffee and do some research. A short while later, I'm back with a notepad full of prices and information about all these manuals. When I say a short time, it may have been a long time. We don't have any big value, but you'd be amazed what my price list adds up to. I went through and checked everything, and I found, most times I found the exact same manual on eBay. Sometimes, well, I searched worldwide. Sometimes it was just an asking price and no completed auctions. Most times they hadn't sold. In fact, probably 90% of the time they hadn't sold. Prices ranged from, sometimes a manual would sell for $10 and $10 or $20 postage and it might have sold. Other times a seller would list, I think I saw one at $350. I saw a lot of manuals priced over $100, but none of those sold. It's just hard to sell old car manuals nowadays. Times have changed, as I mentioned earlier. There was only one, which was the very first one I think we picked up, this Navara parts catalogue. I didn't actually find a date, but I'm thinking it's 1990 sometime. I did not find any reference to this book anywhere, but I did find the parts breakdowns for this model on Microfiche, and that was the seller was asking $15 or something. So I don't think there's much interest in this stuff, at least with postage now. That's another thing that's affected manuals prices. For me to post this across Australia is going to be probably at least $20. To go internationally, it's ridiculously dear. It could be $50, it could be $60, $70. I didn't price it, but they're heavy, and postage has changed a lot in the last 15 or 20 years. So I think eBay isn't the way to go with this stuff anymore, especially when I can find examples. If you have something that's rare, and it does depend on the model itself. So some of these I was sorting through, like, and I don't know what the 810 series was. Maybe it was a Bluebird. They're not always mentioned, and some of them, it looked a little sporty. It had been written on the spine that they were a Pulsar, or they were an Exa, I think. So people don't collect the budget model ones so much, whereas your sports cars, they do. I mentioned the Bluebird earlier on. No, the Skyline. They did have a range of sports cars, but they also had some more pedestrian family cars that really aren't that collectible. But then again, when things get back to the 80s and 70s, and every model is collectible to a degree. Enough chatter. I've decided that there's nothing here I'm going to eBay. I've priced them all out at relatively cheap prices. I've got 3 pages here. I'll show you in a minute. I think the dearest one, the one that was the Ford Ute that Nissan did a deal with, I think it was an XF Falcon Ute. And I think the model from memory was XFN. And that one I've put $30 on, because I didn't find any for sale, and I think that'd probably be a bit more desirable. All the others are $20 or less. So let's have a look at the notepad. If anyone's watching this that is after one of these manuals, or is after another Nissan manual that I haven't got here, there's a chance I've still got it in the back room, shoot me a message, because I might be able to help you out. Let's go through the list and see what it added up to. But my marketing strategy will be, I've priced them all for the shop at cheap prices, but I have joined some some Australia-wide Nissan Datsun Facebook groups, which specialise in buy, swap and sell of parts and probably catalogues and manuals. And I'm going to basically spam them a little bit. I'll do a heap of photos. I might even, if I can get away with it, I might put the link to this video, assuming the admins allow links to YouTube videos. And I may find some very happy Datsun or Nissan collectors or guys that are restoring a car that want an original manual and haven't been able to find one. And there's no fees that way, of course, which I would have through eBay, although eBay are changing that structure. Anyway, I'll show you the notepad. Have a guess what it adds up to. Oh, the product brochures I've actually put in a folder here, and I've listed all these at $5 each. So there's quite a lot of them, and I'll quickly flip through them now because I may not have shown you them all before. And if you do have a model that's here, at least you'll be able to see that I have the right product bulletin for you. Now, these are all numbered. They obviously were out of folders that had many more product bulletins than what I've got here. There's some later ones too. I think the Nissan Patrol, the Y60 series, are quite collectible. And there's another bulletin, 280ZX, I think was one of the sports cars. There's the R30 Skyline. And you can see all these are in very good condition. 720 pickup, another one of those. F20, I don't know what that series is. It might be a little truck or something. And I think that's the last one. So I've put all these at $5 each. Let's move that out of the road. And the notepad. Well, here we go. If you need to have a look at individual prices, you can freeze the video. But I've listed everything. I think that you'll be able to work out what each one covers. Page 2. So there are all the product bulletins there at $5 each. So you can see most of them are $10 or $5, with some of the bigger, thicker manuals $20. And there's our total at what I've priced them out at, $540. If I get anywhere near that, I'm going to be very happy. But the sad thing is that probably 15 or 20 years ago, it would have been over $1,000 worth of manuals easily. But anyway, we'll do our best to move them on through the shop or through Facebook groups or perhaps through YouTube. So thanks for watching, guys. I feel like I've just talked and talked and talked in this video, so I hope you haven't got sick of it. Let me know if you do want to see more videos on these manuals. I mean, they're not all going to be Nissan. I know I've got some others, but there's also going to be a lot of other weird stuff. I think there's a bit of agricultural machinery, and I'm going to market them all basically the same way. Use eBay as a bit of a guide, do some checking online to see if I can find any of the same to give me a guide. If I can't, I'll consider eBaying them, but I really don't think that's an option so much these days. Plus, I couldn't be bothered doing photos and descriptions and everything. So there we go. Let me know below if you want any of what I've got here, or if you're interested in something that you think I might have, by all means send me a message. And if you're bored silly with this and don't want to see any more, let me know as well. I might just do a video too. If no one wants to see this, I might just do a video where I just take a heap of photos, and at least then anyone that is interested can see what I've got. Doesn't have to go for very long, and the rest of you then won't doze off. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.